Welcome back to Adventures in Randomia, my solo Dungeons & Dragons adventure series. This is episode 18, in which the party have to deal with the aftermath of the fight with the bandits. And then Freyia has an unexpected solo adventure in the night. I hope you enjoy it, and please do let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe so you can catch the rest of the series. Last time, the party had a run-in with a group of bandits in the Dunlin Hills in a bid to rescue an eagle for a dwarf hunter they encountered on the road. The bandits soon realised they were no match for this party after Connor dropped a fireball, killing 3 of them outright. The bandit leaders surrendered and gave Connor the key to unlock the eagle cage. We rejoin our party as Wilfred is starting to discover there's more to these bandits than they originally thought. Having cast Cure Wounds on the halfling and the bandit leader, Clarissa rushes over to the bodies of the bandits caught in the blast of the fireball. Her hope of being able to revive them is dashed as she looks in horror at their charred remains. "I'm so sorry," she says, half to herself and half to the other bandits, also looking on in dismay. Connor goes over to the wooden stockade in the corner and uses the key to unlock the gate and release the eagle. It immediately flies up and then swoops low over Freyia. "Oh, he's trying to attack me," she says as she ducks. It then flies over to Tharic Windseer, its dwarf hunter companion, now standing at the entrance to the bandit camp. Freyia goes over to him. He says to her, "Oh, don't worry, lass, that just means she likes you. Maybe she recognises another mountain dwarf." "Oh, right," says Freyia. "That's a funny way of showing it." Tharic is immensely grateful to the party. He has no reward on him, but suggests they come to his village further west, where he will ensure they receive a warm welcome. "You can't miss it. It's on the next rise to the north of the path," he says, as he heads off down the hill, eager to get away from the bandits. Meanwhile, Wilfred is talking to the halfling mage. The bandit leader overhears their conversation and is incredulous to hear that they have evidence that could cause the downfall of Lady Seraphina Blackmore, the corrupt leader of the Everpool government. Having released the eagle, Connor joins them. The bandit leader takes a step back and eyes Connor warily, who now looks very strange, having lost all his hair. Connor starts, "Well, I hope that's taught you bandits a lesson. You're lucky I gave you a chance to surrender." Wilfred then says, "Connor, these bandits are on our side." "What? What do you mean?" says Connor. The bandit leader explains, "We're not bandits by choice. We were farmers, hunters, even some city folk. But we've all been persecuted and driven out by this evil government, forced into this way of life. We were trying to build a force to reckon with them, but it's hopeless. The people of this region are crushed and unable to fight back." Connor nods slowly, taking in this new information, and he recalls his own time in a criminal gang when all other options seem unavailable to him. He rubs his hand on the back of his head, and then remembers that he lost all his hair with a wild magic surge during the fight. "Damn," he says, and he pulls up the hood of his cloak. "Well, hopefully better times will come for you if Wilfred and his group are successful." He casts a glance at the dead bandits. And I'm sorry about him, but I did ask you to surrender." The bandit leader says bitterly, "Ah, I know. These are bad times," and he shakes his head. At this point, Clarissa has joined them. She hears this conversation and is bewildered. There seems no clear resolution. Who is in the right? Who is in the wrong? Her teaching of law and order and morality have given her no way to deal with this. She shakes her head and then rummages in her backpack. She pulls out her coin purse and hands over 8 platinum pieces to the bandit leader. "Here, take this," she says, "and use it to make yourselves a better life." The bandit leader's jaw drops. He is speechless. Wilfred blinks. This is more money than he's ever seen in his life before. The halfling mage says, "Thank you so much. This will go a long way to supporting our cause." Freyia has also joined them. "Clarissa, what are you doing, giving away all our loot?" "This is my portion, Freyia, and I'll do what I choose with it," replies Clarissa. "I'm sorry," she says again to the bandits, and she walks away. "Okay, well I think we're done here," says Connor, and he and Freyia also walk away. Wilfred turns to the mage again. "Please don't give up hope. I believe that we will bring this evil ruler down." The halfling nods silently as he too walks away. They all walk quietly back down the path to the horse and cart, each processing what has just happened in their own way. Freyia jumps up into the driver's seat. "Come on," she says, trying to lift the party spirits. "The dwarf hunter said he'll have a warm welcome waiting for us at his village further west." So they head off again along the cart track in the afternoon sunshine. As they enter the next hex, we roll on the terrain table and we get an unmarked settlement. This must be the village the hunter spoke of. Then we check for an encounter. The roll of 80 means the rest of the journey is uneventful. The cart trundles steadily along the track, deeper into the hills, for a further few miles. With our high passive perception, Clarissa spots a narrow track on the right leading upwards towards a hilly ridge, and they can see the tops of roofs and some smoke rising. Clarissa checks her map. The map doesn't show any settlement in this area. That's odd. Oh, this must be the village the dwarf hunter spoke of, says Freyia. Not everything is shown on the map, Clarissa. So we roll an animal handling check to see if Freyia can navigate the horse and cart up the hill. She gets a 23. Freyia expertly steers the horse and cart up the narrow winding track. Her experience of driving carts in the mountainous region of the Iron Peaks, back home in Alistara, pays off here. As they crest the hill, the small dwarven hamlet comes into view, situated on a plateau atop the rolling green hills. The golden light of the late afternoon bathes the settlement, casting long shadows across the sturdy stone and wood buildings. Each structure is carefully crafted, with walls of grey stone and thatched roofs of woven straw. A few thin plumes of smoke rise lazily from chimneys, carrying the scent of hearth fires and freshly baked bread on the breeze. They all jump off the wagon and head into the only tavern in the hamlet in search of Tharic. He is there, telling the tale of his escape from the bandit camp to anyone who will listen. As soon as Tharic spots Freyia coming to the tavern, he runs over to her. "Oh, lass, so good to see you made it to our humble little home. I've been telling everyone about how you and your group rescued Cloudwing for me." He holds out his hand, "And here is a small gift for you." He places a small silver object into Freyya's hand. On closer inspection, she sees that it's a silver ring made from an intricately carved feather curled round to create the band. "Oh, well," says Freyia, "that's beautiful. Thanks very much." "Well, you may find it helpful in certain situations," replies the dwarf. "And it's the least I can do to say thank you for saving the most precious thing to me, my beautiful Cloudwing." The party stays for a while to chat to the locals, who are all keen to hear about them and the fight with the bandits. The residents of this hamlet, known as Airy Top, are mostly dwarves, but not like Freyya's kin from the Iron Peaks. These dwarves are mostly hunters and shaman, and are closely connected to the land. They explain that with little interest in digging into the earth to seek minerals or treasure, they left the dwarven city of Runehafen in the mountains of the Ironspine to settle here for a more natural way of life. An old shaman says cryptically to Freyia, "And maybe there's a reason you've come to us, young dwarf." "Oh yes," replies Freyia, "it's because we saved Tharic's eagle, and he said we'd be welcome here." The old shaman nods with a knowing look in his eye. "Ah yes, the spirits work in mysterious ways." As there is no inn with rooms in this small hamlet, the party is shown a flat area of grass that they can camp on, just above the village. It's a warm and fine night. Despite being close to the village, they decide it's prudent to take watches after their encounter with the bandits. So we roll to check if they are disturbed in the night. We will use a -5 modifier as they are camping in such a sheltered spot. This gives us an 11, which is yes but. Then we roll to check on whose watch. We get a 2, which is Clarissa. Finally we roll to find out what disturbs them. We get a 68, which is a curious NPC. However, this is not just a curious villager. It is now nearly 4 a.m, and Clarissa is coming to the end of her watch. She is sat on a log staring into the fire, still mulling over the events of the day. All of a sudden, she hears rustling in the trees close by. So we roll a check to see how well hidden this person is. We get a 7. Clarissa looks up, and with her excellent perception, she can distinctly see the shape of a person crouched behind a tree, about 30 foot away, peering at the campsite. She freezes and sits silently watching. The figure does not move. "Freyia," she then whispers, "there's someone watching us." Freyia, who has chosen to sleep outside due to the fine weather, wakes with a start. "What?" "Shh," says Clarissa, "over there." But as she looks again, the figure has now disappeared. "Are you sure, Clarissa?" says Freyia. "Maybe you nodded off and started dreaming. Who would want to be watching us?" "Well," says Clarissa, "after what happened in Everpool, I imagine those night shift smugglers could well be on our trail." "Oh, right," says Freyia. This idea hadn't occurred to her. So let's go back and find out what's been happening with the night shift faction in Everpool since the encounter in the Smuggler's Cove 2 nights ago. First, we need to ask the question, are the night shift smugglers aware that they are being investigated by the Quillians? We roll a 20, which is yes and. So we're going to assume that not only do the night shift know about the Quillians, but they also know that they meet at the Dusty Quill bookshop. The morning after the encounter in the cave, the elf mage Tatiana meets up with the night shift leadership and explains what happened the previous night. She describes the party members that she encountered in the cave.
They are much stronger than the Quillians. There's a powerful spellcaster and a crazy dwarf with an axe. They killed Malric, and I wasn't strong enough to defeat them alone. At least I did manage to escape unseen and get the boxes over to Silverduke's.
The night shift leader is angry. She should have let him know sooner.
This is bad news, he says. These new people could be a threat to us. I'll put a scout on the Dusty Quill. Maybe these are new members of the Quillians. Let's see if we can track what they're doing.
So a scout maintains watch on the Dusty Quill for the rest of the day, and that night. Early the next morning, he sees Wilfred leaving, heaving a large backpack. We make a stealth check for the scout. He rolls a 16, so Wilfred does not see him. The scout follows Wilfred to the western city gate. He then sees the rest of the party arrive, and they all get into the cart and leave through the gate. Now he checks to see if Clarissa sees him with her high passive perception. He rolls a 24 for stealth, so no, she does not. He watches from the gate for a while to check which route they take. He rolls a 19 for perception. He clearly sees them turn off the main road and take the cart track to the north. The scout returns to the night shift base and lets the leader know that one of the Quillians has joined this party of 3 adventurers and they are headed out into the Dunlin Hills, following the northern track.
Ha! With any luck, the bandits out there will make short work of them. But if they're as strong as you say, Tatiana, we can't be complacent. I want you to check back in with Delroy Silverduke. Ask him if he's seen anything.
So Tatiana goes over to Silverduke's pawn shop just as Delroy is closing up for lunch.
"Arr, Tatiana," says Delroy. "Perfect timing. You ready for our date then?" "What are you talking about, Delroy?" says Tatiana. "I haven't agreed to a date with you."
"But yesterday morning, Tatiana, you call me darling. You said you see me later. You got all shy now."
"Yesterday? I was not here yesterday, and I said no such thing."
"But Tatiana, you were here. And with that new apprentice of yours, you came to check the boxes."
"What? That was not me.
It must have been one of these meddling adventurers in a disguise. How could you be so stupid, Delroy?" "Well, it sure looked like you, Tatiana, with your lovely hair and your lovely eyes."
"Shut up, Delroy. You're making me nauseous. What did these people want?"
"Well, they wanted to check the boxes, didn't they? That you brought the other night. That was you, right? The night of the storm?"
"Yes, that was me, but not yesterday. You don't mean to say you let them see the boxes?"
"Yeah, well, I was busy with a couple of customers in the shop, weren't I? So you went down the back with your new apprentice."
"Are you telling me you left the 2 of them alone out the back? For how long?"
"Well, I can't rightly say. I was doing a big purchase from a dwarf and an halfling. Maybe 20 minutes.
"A dwarf and a halfling? Oh no, this sounds like more of these adventurers. And the others were out the back for 20 minutes? Who knows what they could have found out in that time? This is terrible news. Get out of my way, Delroy."
And with that, she storms out of the shop. On hearing this news, the night shift leader is even more angry. He orders the scout to start heading out into the hills to catch up with the party and follow them. Back at the camp in Airy Top, Freyia takes over the watch from Clarissa. She grabs her great axe and stares intently at the trees. But all is silent now, and she can see nothing more. She sits down and leans her back against her backpack and sighs deeply as she looks up at the starry sky. She remembers the old shaman's words from earlier. What did he mean? All of a sudden, a large, dark, winged shape swoops out of the darkness at her. "Ugh!" she cries. "That eagle is flying at me again!" The eagle makes a sharp cry. Freyia hears the word, "Follow!" "What?" she says, as she jumps up, great axe in hand. "What does it want?" The eagle swoops away over the low ground, and then upwards towards a rocky outcrop towards the east. The sky beyond is gradually brightening as dawn is approaching. She can see the eagle silhouetted in the glow. She follows the eagle at a run, hardly knowing why she's doing this. She sees it fly up and land atop the outcrop. She hears the cry again. She reaches the outcrop. The sheer face of rock rises up in front of her. She starts the 60-foot climb. So we're going to roll for athletics for each 15-foot stretch of the climb. The DC is 16. For the first 15 foot, we roll an 18. Freyia grips the jagged edges of the rocky outcrop with confidence. The rough weathered stone offers some handholds, and she quickly finds her footing on a small sturdy ledge and pulls herself up the first 15 foot. For the next stretch, we roll a 16. Freyia steadies herself on the narrow ledge, eyeing the next stretch of the climb. She reaches for a narrow crack in the rock face and digs her fingers into it. She plants her boot onto a protruding stone, and with a grunt of effort she pushes herself upward. This climb is proving tougher than she expected. Freyia grits her teeth, frustration mounting as she struggles to find the next handhold. She lets out a roar, and her rage surges through her, sharpening her focus and filling her muscles with renewed strength. For the next stretch, we roll with advantage. We first roll an 8 and then a 17. She sees a handhold above her, almost out of reach. She lunges upward, grabbing the jagged outcropping with all her might. Her feet scramble for purchase, finally finding a stable foothold, and she pulls herself up another 15 feet. As her rage subsides, Freyya's muscles begin to ache from the strain of the climb. For the next stretch, we roll only an 8. She reaches for the next handhold, but as she starts to pull herself up, her fingers slip on the jagged surface of the rock. Her boot scrapes uselessly against the cliffside as she loses her grip, and for a terrifying moment she begins to fall. She instinctively gives out a roar as her body surges with rage again. With a newfound strength, she grabs hold of the protruding rock and stops her fall. For a moment she dangles in mid-air, but then finds a stable ledge to plant her boot on.
Phew, that was close,
she mutters as her rage subsides again. Freyia steadies herself. The fire of her rage simmers just below the surface, but she pushes it down, knowing she may need it when she reaches the summit. Having slipped down the cliff, she still has 30 feet to climb. For the next stretch, we roll a 26. Freyia focuses, using what she's already learned to spot the best handholds and rough patches where her boots can grip securely. She climbs smoothly up the next 15-foot stretch. She looks up and can see the top of the cliff, just a further 15 foot up. Without her rage, her arms are starting to ache, and beads of sweat trickle down her brow, but she grits her teeth and steadies her breathing. For the final stretch, she rolls a 20. Planting her foot firmly on a jutting ledge, she pushes upward and finds the final few handholds. She finally hauls herself over the ledge and onto the flat ground. She rolls over onto her back and looks up at the sky as she breathes heavily for a few moments. Suddenly, a fierce cry echoes across the rocky summit. The eagle, far larger than any she has ever seen, seems to darken the sky as it swoops down at her. With a sudden rush of wind, its talons rake across her chest, leaving a gash and a flare of pain that makes her head spin for a moment. Freyia leaps to her feet and goes into a rage. "Oh, you beastie!" she shouts. "I knew you wanted to attack me!" So we roll for initiative, and Freyia takes the next attack. She charges at the eagle hovering in front of her and swings her great axe in a vicious arc, the heavy blade crashing across the eagle's breast with a resounding impact. The enormous bird screeches, forced momentarily off balance by the power of her strike, feathers scattering into the wind. Gripping her axe tighter, Freyia steps in to deliver a second blow, but the eagle twists away with an agile flutter of its massive wings, causing her swing to slice only empty air. With a harsh cry, the eagle then lashes forward, driving its beak into Freyia with punishing force. Though the impact sends a jolt of pain through her, the fury coursing through her veins cushions the worst of it. But before she can recover, the eagle pivots and rakes at her with razor-sharp talons, tearing into her armour. Once again, her rage blunts the attack's full force. With the next sweeping strike of her great axe, Freyia slashes across the eagle's flank, drawing a pained screech from the massive bird. Feathers scatter as the razor-sharp steel bites into its flesh. Seizing the moment, she twists her body and swings again, this time connecting with a powerful overhead chop. The eagle staggers under the blow, its wings beating wildly in protest. The eagle thrusts its beak forward, but Freyia deftly sidesteps, avoiding its snapping jaws. Frustrated, the great bird rears back and emits a piercing, otherworldly shriek. A visible ripple of force tears through the air, threatening to hurl Freyia from the rocky ledge. She sets her feet and braces her shoulders, gritting her teeth as a sonic wave slams into her. Her next swing hisses through empty air as the eagle twists away, its wings buffeting her. With a snarl, Freyia readjusts her grip and brings her great axe back around in a fierce arc, the heavy blade biting deep into the eagle's breast. A resonant screech tears from the bird's throat as it staggers back. With a furious flap of its mighty wings, the eagle slashes at Freyia again with its talons, scoring another punishing hit that leaves her gasping for breath. No sooner has she steadied herself than the bird rears back, unleashing a second cacophonous shriek. The sound reverberates like thunder, threatening to hurl Freyia from the ledge. Gritting her teeth, she weathers the onslaught, her rage fueling her resistance. With a roar, Freyia drives her great axe home in a devastating strike, the blade cleaving into the eagle's flank with brutal force. The colossal bird staggers, squawking in agony as it recoils. Freyia seizes the opportunity to swing again, Her second blow lands true, carving another deep wound along its side. The giant bird then lunges with its beak again at Freyia, but she manages to dodge aside. However, before she can respond, a surge of crackling energy erupts around the eagle as it uses Thunderstep. In a burst of thunderous sound, it vanishes from sight, only to reappear some distance away. The explosive shockwave slams into Freyia like a crashing wave, sending her skidding a few steps across the stony ground. The eagle is now hovering 50 feet away, with its wounds clearly visible, but its spirit unbroken. With Freyja's hit points now dropping perilously low, she takes a deep breath and charges towards the eagle, using her bonus action dash to get her within range. She raises her great axe high and brings it crashing down in a savage arc, striking with such force that the blow sends a jolt through her arms. The eagle shudders and lets out a final piercing cry before collapsing onto the stony ground. A hush falls over the rocky plateau, and Freyia stands victorious, swaying unsteadily on her feet. She's on the brink of collapse, yet her eyes blaze with hard-won triumph. Freyia, her breath rasping in her chest, then watches in amazement as a dazzling eagle-shaped spirit form rises from the broken body. Towering and majestic, wreathed in a corona of golden light, it gives a piercing cry. Then the radiance brightens, blasting across the plateau in a searing flash. The force of the brilliance sends her stumbling backward. Instinctively she throws out a hand, and her fingers close around a few shining feathers that swirl in the wake of the spirit's ascent. But before she can regain her footing, the rocky ledge vanishes from beneath her heels. Freyja's stomach lurches as she tumbles off the edge of the outcrop, the air rushing past her ears. The world fades to black, and the last sensation she clings to is the soft prickle of spirit-touched feathers in her grasp. Freyia! Freyia! Wake up! Freyia can hear Clarissa's voice. Her eyes flutter open.
Oh, Clarissa, where am I?
Am I dead? No, silly, says Clarissa. It looks like you just fell asleep during your watch. Freyia looks about her. She is sat next to the now extinguished campfire, with her back propped against her backpack. Everything looks normal.
Come on, Freyia, says Connor. The sun is well up now. We're going for breakfast in the tavern.
He and Wilfred are already walking away from the camp.
Oh, was it all just a dream?
She mutters to herself.
What's that you're saying,
Freyia? Asks Clarissa.
Oh, nothing. I just had a really weird dream.
She starts to get up. She notices that she had been sleeping with her right fist tightly clenched. She uncurls her fingers and sees 3 golden-brown eagle feathers clutched in her hand. She stares at the feathers. She is confused and dumbfounded. Was it a dream, or was it real? This sort of thing doesn't happen to her. She's just a dwarf with a big axe. Are you coming, Freyia? Asks Clarissa.
Yeah, okay. I'll just be a minute. You go on ahead.
She stands up and rummages in her backpack. She finds a short length of leather strip, which she winds around the base of the feathers to bind them together. She holds them clutched in her hand, and as she does this, she catches sight of the ring on her finger, with its band of a curled silver feather. Oh yes, the ring of Featherfall, which Tharic had given her yesterday. She looks up and scans the horizon to the east. There she can see the tall rocky outcrop, with the sun now well risen behind it, casting a long shadow towards the camp. Above the outcrop, she can see a lone eagle circling, as it catches a column of air rising, warmed by the summer sun. She hears the eagle's shrill cry. It almost sounds like it's saying her name. She takes a deep breath and places the bound feathers into her jacket pocket. Then she turns and follows the others towards the tavern for breakfast. And there we will leave our party for now, with Freyia still wondering about the mystery of her battle with the eagle, and the party now starts to be concerned that the night shift smugglers may be following them as they head further west. Tune again next time to discover where this story goes.